Guys, welcome back to another episode of TalkFlow. This is episode 9, and today we are back with another guest episode. So today we have Harry Roper. Many of you guys might know him. I personally watch his videos as well, and I'm sure you guys do. So you know what, Harry, thank you very much for jumping on this show. Why don't you introduce a little bit about yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Shais. Hey guys. So my name's Harry. I run a Webflow agency, fully remote in the UK. We'd love to work with companies nationally in the UK. We kind of niched into the automotive and transport industry, although we're happy to work with most businesses. I document a lot of my journey on YouTube, as Shais just said. So if you type in Harry Roper on YouTube, you'll be able to find me on there. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well if you want to connect on those channels. And mainly just like focusing on building an agency and like sharing that journey with as many people as possible.
Hmm.
Because I feel like when when I started, there wasn't really that much content online on like how to run an agency, and I think I'm very grateful that like we have the opportunity now to have great YouTubers like Christo to teach us the way
Hmm.
and stuff. But sometimes like his content's great, but it isn't specific enough in Webflow or running like a website design agency. So yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
For sure, man. For sure. I'm actually excited to have you. I mentioned like I watch your videos personally, so I'm a bit fanboyish, but I have to say professional for the show. So, but yeah, I also want to mention one thing before we, start getting into a deep conversation with Harry. Vermaelen, as you can see, he's not in today. Vermaelen's attendance has been quite low ever since TalkFlow started, but it's okay. He's actually a bit busy today, so he couldn't make it. So it's only me and Harry today. But you know what? Varmalin actually did send me a few questions he wanted to ask you. So I'll just get into that, while we're chatting. But you know what? Firstly, Harry, I actually wanted to ask you just to start off with. I want to know where everything began, because in a lot of entrepreneurs is not just a straight road. For example, myself, my background, my industry is completely different
Mm,
to what I'm doing. So I want to know more. Where did it all begin for yourself?
yeah, good, really good question. So I hope you've got a couple of seconds, but
No worries.
it all started at university, and
Mm-hmm.
I did something that I think I would advise a lot of people to do, and I say to all my subscribers, if you're in education, go and ask a company if you can intern for them. So I interned for a really cool app development agency in Shoreditch in London. Um, decided to decided to leave university. The app development company said, you're doing a great job. Why don't you come and work with us full time? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. Worked really hard with them, and it was really good fun. Decided to leave them and come back to Devon. To be honest, Chase, like I don't really know what to do to begin with. I was working at hotels
Mm.
for a bit, like just
Okay.
like busting tables down, like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then it's that classic, I think, like entrepreneur moment where you're like working really hard. Somebody was really rude to me. I went into the
Mm.
kitchen, did the classic like throw the towel, and I went, "Fuck you! I'm not doing this anymore." I can't believe they were rude to me. And then I just kind of decided,
Yeah.
like, I always knew that when I was younger, like making websites was something that I did as a teenager just for fun. And I thought, you know what, I'll do it. And I thought to myself, oh, selling websites would be easy. I'll make £500 a day. I'll get one project a day, do it in a day, get it out, 500 quid a day. I'll be a millionaire before I know it. And then you soon learn all the client interaction, revision, strategy,
Hmm.
and all the other stuff. And guys, if you listen, it's not as easy as it sounds. But yeah,
Definitely.
that's where I
Yeah.
guess it all started.
I mean, yeah, I can definitely agree with you when you mention, your plan before getting into it. I think even I feel a lot of entrepreneurs or before people become entrepreneurs or start a business,
Mm,
they always have this plan like, okay, for example, I'm going to make this course, I'm going to sell it for £100. All I have to do is sell it 5 times a day. I make £500 a day. And before you know it, I'm a millionaire. I feel like a lot of people have this. And because it's very simple math, they think is very easy. But in
mm,
reality, when they try it out, it's, when they take action, it's a lot harder. And I actually was recording a video yesterday for, I've got my own personal YouTube channel coming out, but I was recording a YouTube video for that. And at the end of the video, I mentioned um, it was action breeds competence, and then competence breeds, what was it? Confidence, and then competence breeds experience, and then experience breeds confidence, and then there's a whole cycle. So yeah, it's all about taking action first, and then you'll learn along the way, which is what I believe you
I
do.
totally agree with that. And I think like the blind optimism that we have as entrepreneurs can actually like trick us into starting something that we don't realize how hard it
Definitely.
actually is. But at least it gets us in there, right? To doing it. And then once, I guess then it's really, do you give up or do you carry on? But for
Mhm.
most entrepreneurs, I like to think they're so full of themselves. We're all so full of ourselves as entrepreneurs that we're like, fuck it, I'll just do it. And you go for it
Yeah,
and give it your best.
yeah, definitely, man. So I actually wanted to also ask you, just as a follow-up, so what year did you start your Webflow agency?
2019, just at the start.
Oh, I see. So that was, I believe that was like just as no code was about to peak, I believe. You're kind of riding it, because before that no code was a thing, but I think 2018, 2019 is when it really
Mm,
started to pick up. So
I
do
agree.
you think you
I
caught
agree.
the tide perfectly, or?
Interesting question. Still feel like we're it's really young, the
Hmm.
industry at the moment. But
Definitely,
like
yeah.
for example, like Bubble, the no code tool wasn't out then. All the great Fin Suite stuff wasn't out then. I mean, we didn't have grids in Webflow back then. So like
Okay.
you you can see how quickly the tools have developed. And
Hmm.
like I think the thing I'm really excited about is like the next 5 years, because really
Hmm.
we've only been through like 2 years of like solid improvements, but
Yeah,
there's so much more now, right?
definitely, man. And I think it's not even Webflow, it's just no code in a whole is growing so fast.
Mm,
Like
mm,
last week we we actually got another guest on, and he was a CEO of a no code backend development platform. And he just started out this year, at the beginning of this year, and he's already seen tremendous growth. And I feel like a lot more no code tools is going to start coming in the future, and the Webflow just being the forefront of things. And yeah,
mm.
man, even did you watch No Code Conf, by the way?
Yeah, so I've seen like they're bringing out their like workflow stuff now,
Hmm.
and I don't know about you, but like to me, it just seems like at some point I'm going to be able to open up Webflow and just build an app like straight up.
Really?
Um, be able
Yeah.
to build like an MVP, test my idea, and then like if that works, then like build like a company and some sort of funding around that.
Hmm.
Um, I think the opportunities like the amount of
Yeah.
stuff that's coming up is just sick.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
exciting.
The one thing I'm really excited about is Webflow Logic.
Mm,
Because I think me and Vermalin, I think it was episode 7, where we were talking about our expectations of no code conf, and we mentioned how one of our things on our wish list, you can say, was if they integrated whatever Zapier has, and they can
mm,
integrate that into Webflow itself, so you can have like a Webflow native automation system like Zapier. And that's what they're going to release. So Webflow Logic, and that's something that I'm really excited about. And people like us, right, we're developers, we kind of know what is possible and what is not. That's
mm,
why I encourage a lot of people to learn how to code at least a little bit, or learn no code platforms, because that will kind of it will kind of build this kind of new brain inside of your mind that kind of
mm,
picks out opportunities more than a normal person. So for example, if I'm coming across a problem, if I know how to code, I can say, okay, I know that this problem can be speeded up, more efficient using code. Whereas if I didn't, then I won't know how to do that. And I think us developers do have that second brain. And with all of this Webflow logic stuff coming out, I think that will really help us implement, any new ideas that we do have. Would you agree with that?
yeah, can't wait. Can't wait.
Definitely, yeah.
The code part is really important, and it's a really good point that you make actually. Having just like basic knowledge of like really easy approachable coding languages like jQuery, for example, are
Hmm.
really helpful. Or just like basic JavaScript. it just helps you with like wanting to expand the use of a button or be able to go that little bit further. But I think as well, a lot of designers sometimes forget that if they don't know how to code and it really isn't something that they're good at because they're more on the creative side, then you can always go to sites like Fiverr or Upwork and like outsource some of that programming stuff as well. So there's definitely options there if you don't. But yeah, I agree with you, Chase. Like if you're a developer, definitely having like a little bit of code knowledge will help you, especially when it comes to like naming stuff. That's like a massive gripe of mine, especially with designers who just like will fucking name it anything. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. And so I wanted to just get back to your journey as a, with Imaginary Space. So how did the initial days of starting your Webflow journey look like? Finding clients. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about the early days?
Sure. So uh, I'd love to put out a video, I think, at some point about this because it's really important for people who are starting out. But a
Hmm.
lot of the time, people can get really stuck on like that first step of like finding the first client, and you've really got to like forget about Christo saying charge £15,000 for a website. Forget about you know Clayton Smith on YouTube saying you go and charge 5K for a website. To begin with, just start really cheap, and that's what we did. So I think my first website ever was like 400 quid or something, which is a daylight robbery,
Yeah,
really, for the
yeah,
work that we
definitely.
put in. But the way I did it was I just put into a friendship group. I said, look, I'm starting out as a website developer. It's a new career that I want to try out and grow this business. And do any of you have any family or friends who want a website? I've got a little screenshot somewhere I was looking through the other day, and it's my friend messaging me saying, "Hello, mate. My stepmom wants a website for her business. Would you be interested in helping her out?" And that was really my first step into building a website for someone. Then another friend came to me and said, "Oh, I was talking to my boss, and he wants a website. So would you like to do one?" And it was through those early referrals that helped me kind of build the portfolio and build the experience. But if you were looking to start out and you have like a good friendship group or you have some connections, or maybe your father knows some people, like just put those feelers out and say, hey, I'm starting out, I'll do it really cheap and you'll get a really good website. Here's what it could look like. Do you know anybody who'd be interested? And I guess that's how we initially grew.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Um I feel like that's what a lot of people go through. Even I went through the same thing. It's just about getting in touch with your close family and friends because they trust you the most, right?
Mm,
So yeah, that's actually a good answer. What I want to know is, I feel this is a question I wanted to ask you for quite a long time. I've been watching your videos
sure.
and all of that stuff, but I see that your imaginary space is catered towards the niche of the automotive industry. So why didn't you tell us a bit more about, you know, how that's working for you? Because there's a huge question about should you niche down or should you not, especially in the Webflow industry, because a lot of people, even myself, I believe that Webflow is a niche in itself. So how have you
Hmm.
found it? Do you believe that you're niching down within a niche, or do you believe that, niching down as a Webflow developer is good or not?
It's interesting you made that point, but like I think you could say the same about WordPress, right? Like WordPress is a niche, so to speak, but there's definitely WordPress agencies that focus just on like healthcare, for example, or something like that. I think the reason that I did it, Chase, and if you guys are listening as well, like I did a course in just before Corona hit, and it was by Ran Segal, and it was his freelancer course to six figures or something, some crazy name like that to hook you in. And Rand says that the best thing you can do in any real website design business is to niche. And the reason that he says it works so well is because he grew his business from just him earning $300,000 a year. And he said that by specifically niching into B2B startups, he found that the growth he saw by being able to constantly talk to the same kind of client, so he knew their problem every single time when talking to them, by being able to show them a portfolio of that niche and saying, I've done this work with people in your sector millions of times, he was able to win more business. People were able to trust him quicker. He was able to get more referrals and just be able to do business a lot faster. Now, I'm not saying that will happen straight away if you do that, but that was his advice in the course. So we started off with architecture before I started the vlog, so not a lot of people will know that. We soon
I think I
realized
remember
that
you had architecture as a niche in your beginning of, you know, when your first ever videos, but then you moved on to
okay.
automotive industry. Yeah.
So we did architecture, and we're like, this is fucking stupid, because if you get an architecture studio who have 5 people in it, 300 leads, they're not going to be able to manage that amount of business coming in. And then we niched into working with agencies, because we did a really cool agency website and I really enjoyed the process of working with them, but soon realized that most agencies will do it internally, and there's only so many agencies out there that don't have the capabilities to do web and marketing internally. So we were a bit all over the place, to be honest. And I kept thinking in my mind, like, I want to niche because it's going to help me out growing. So we looked at our portfolio, and we'd done a really good project for a company in London who do electric car charging installers. Smashed it for them, got them really good results. And we also did a project for a local camper van company to me, and again, smashed it for them, got amazing results. And I realized that you can get 500 customers for an automotive company, and they'll be like, all right, we'll deal with it. And they'll be like, right, we'll go hire somebody tomorrow to do the job, because, you know, automotive isn't too specialized when it comes to getting people to work for you. So that was kind of the reasoning. Now, what have been the benefits of it so far? I guess the best thing to say is that when I'm doing outreach, I know that I want to just be targeting a very specific persona. By targeting that persona, I can also write down certain details about them. So I know that most like custom manufacturers of cars, they're working in the workshop and they're working in their business. So the amount of time that they have is not a lot. You also know, like, you know, for them, their product, their margin is a lot lower than, say, a software company, because a software company, they build it once and then they can keep selling it and they can have a higher margin on the product. So already you're starting to figure out what their problems are. That helps when you're talking to them directly. And when it comes to marketing as well, it's easier to put together the material. I guess we're a bit too early on to tell you whether it's working greatly or not, but already from like networking and outbound, it seems to be helping, the fact that we have like a North Star to focus on.
Yeah, that makes sense. So from what you said, what I got from it is that you didn't have this one set niche from the very start. You had to experiment and kind of, you know, go through a lot of trial and error to find your niche. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's a great way of looking at things. I feel like a lot of people just jump in the deep end straight away, you know, because, you know, they follow the money instead of following what they're actually passionate about and what makes sense for themselves. And you know, a lot of people, they just straight away say, oh, we build websites for startups and SaaS, where sometimes that shouldn't be the niche that you're focusing on. Is not the best for you.
It's the crowd favorite. It's the crowd favorite.
Exactly.
But I would say, like,
yeah.
Ran also says in the course, like, look at your advantages. So like you told me before the podcast, Shais, that you're doing something in dental as well, right? So
Yeah.
like that could be an advantage for you, because you know the language of talking to private dentists already. You can already, you know, their pains probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
and I
go from
think,
there.
yeah, that's one thing that I always say to the audience is always leverage your unfair advantages, right? And I think that you can agree with that. So yeah, and you know, it's going to be unique for everyone, which is the beauty of it, right? It's not like copy and pasting or whatever. Everyone has their own unique unfair advantage, and you have to look at yourself and leverage that. But yeah, man, I totally agree with what you're saying. So let me just run. So, so what advice would you have to anyone starting out?
Yeah.
It's quite a
Great
broad-ended
question.
question. Yeah.
Great question. Starting out, figure out if you want to be a freelancer or whether you want to be a business owner. That was something that Took me 2 years to figure out, and I only really decided in May that I didn't want to be a Webflow dev anymore. I wanted to be a business owner.
Mm,
Try and make that decision early on, because it will help you kind of guide your decision on, am I going to like triple down on learning Webflow and design and strategy and get really, really, really good at that so I can charge like really high rates? Or am I going to triple down on learning about business and like processes and systems and like being able to scale an agency to a really big size, figure that out. And I think what you said as well, right? Like, being a generalist at the beginning is not a bad thing. Like, you need to get some experience. So doing like anything with anyone for a year and just like really learning
mhm.
is a really key thing. But yeah, I'd say that that definition is really important. Or it was
Yeah,
for me.
awesome. I feel like when when I'm watching your videos, I kind of get confused in what you do, and I will explain it. It might sound like a diss, but I promise it's not.
Okay.
So you talk about um being a Webflow agency owner, but at the same time, you're creating a lot of content. You're releasing,
Hmm.
I believe, 3 videos a week or something crazy like that, which is good. But what would you classify yourself? Content creator, a Webflow agency owner, or both?
Yeah, both, I guess.
Okay, I see. And would and I want to know, what is your goal behind creating content? Is it to get clients? Is it to just increase your exposure and perhaps, build an audience in the Webflow community down the line and hopefully monetize that? What is your end goal with creating content?
So my overall like North Star goal overall is biggest Webflow agency in the UK, maybe even in
Mm-hmm.
Europe. Uh, I think Gary Vee is a really good like example of why building a personal brand is so important on top of
See.
running your business. So like VaynerMedia, for example, the reason that they get brand deals with Coca-Cola or the New York Jets or whoever is because of Gary's personal brand, and because he's an
Mm-hmm.
expert. I'm going to even use his quoted marks sort of thing. But um, for me, like, I only see the agency being able to go so far with referral work, and that's been really great. But I feel like a lot of the time, something that we've struggled with, and I know other people struggle with, is marketing your business to get more clients.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, if I can have somebody who creates the website for me, designs the website for me, and I'm fully learning strategy and I'm creating content to get awareness of us out there, that for me has kind of been like the model to follow so far. Um, I had, as I said to you earlier about like defining what you want to do, I had to make that decision in May of whether, do I want to triple down on becoming like a really fucking good Webflow developer, or do I want to like actually explore creating content, marketing, sales, etc., to feed the agency. So
Mm-hmm.
my goal is to create like a fucking good Webflow team, but they do the work so that I have then the time to make the TikTok videos, the podcasts, the
Mm-hmm.
reels, and to kind of be able to, feed them essentially through that sort of system.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. So because I feel like with a lot of content creators, I'm trying to, I'm Vermaelen, we're also content creators at the same time. But even myself, even though we don't really post a lot, I still find it super, super difficult to balance the both. It feels like I'm in two different worlds, right? I'm in content creator mode, and I'm in agency owner mode. So how do you balance that? And do you even feel like there's two different modes in that sense?
Mm. Very good question. I guess for me, the question to ask you is, what's the biggest problem in terms of the balance? Like, are you
Mhm.
spending too much time doing content and you're having to do client work, or is it like, where's the issue
So
coming from?
I think the best way to answer that is where how much of a percentage I spend on what activity. So, for example, on marketing, how much of my time do I spend on that, and client work, how much of my time? And to be honest, right now, because I have less time, I'm trying to because before I used to work every single day, now I take the weekends off. So I have less time. So I'm trying to I say no to a lot of leads that come my way. So I only take on very select projects. And I'm not sure if it's because of that, but that means that I spend quite a large chunk of my time marketing and working in my business. Sorry, working on my business. But in terms of client, so I would say around 70 to 80% of the time I spend marketing, creating content, following up, outreaching on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn marketing strategy. I do use that as well. So I do that. I do, all of everything to do with getting the client side of things. And then actual doing the client work, I spend around 30 to 20% of my time. And that's how it is, designing, developing, all of that. So that is how I would say my time is split.
Yep. I guess this ties back to like the definition, right? Once you decide that you're not going to be a Webflow developer anymore, the process for me, and it was a learning experience over 2 to 3 months, was giving everything to a developer and a designer to do and moving more to a project management state. When you're in the project management state, yeah, you're checking in every day still, and probably 20% of my time is checking in on making sure things are getting done and tickets are being made. But at the end of the day, I know other people are covering the work, so it actually frees up a lot of my time. I'm a big fan of like Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, and a couple other thought leaders in this, like Carl Poulain, Cal Newport, who are all like big productivity and time hacking geeks. And the main thing here is like, can it be delegated, or do you need to do it yourself? And if it can be delegated, then take the cut from your margin and just make sure that you're charging enough for a project so that you can feed your team, but also feed yourself at the end of the day. So, we went from making probably really good money to a lot less per project, because you've got to factor in a team, but then that forces you to push your prices higher, and then you're going after bigger clients. So like it's all a really cool thing. For your audience, Chase, if they were struggling with time management, there's some great books. There's a couple on my shelf, but Getting Things Done, which I've just spoken about in the vlog that I've read, which has been a massive one. Deep Work by Cal Newport. It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work by the Basecamp founders. A World Without Email by Cal. Again, all really great books on how to get on top of the work and be able to manage your time more effectively. Because, yeah, it's a big curve to learn, I think.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I just want to go back to the point. So all of these books that you mentioned, I'll just link them in the description for audience to go check out. But I want to go back to what you said about you mentioned that marketing is a lot of people. I'm not sure what you said exactly, but I think you said something along the lines of marketing is that there's not that much content out there to market a Webflow business, or something along the lines of that. So I want to ask you, how important do you think marketing is in a Webflow business? Because from what I see, I speak to a lot of other Webflow developers like myself, and they do not spend even half the time I spend on marketing. A lot of other
Really?
people are mostly focused on client work. Yeah. So a lot of people, 90% of the time, they just do client work, and 10% of the time they post on LinkedIn here and there, and they don't really
Yep.
focus on marketing. So do you think that is a correct way to go? And if it's not, what do you think is the best way to approach marketing?
Sure. Really good point. I guess it's hard to know without actually talking to those people individually, but I always found when being a developer that there's always peaks and troughs. So there'll always be a point where you run out of work or you run out of leads and you go through what's known as a quiet period. The whole point about building like a marketing and sales system that works is that you have a constant churn of work coming in, and it's predictable. That's the big thing, like making sure it's predictable. Now, what I would say, Chase, is let's say they don't do that and they become a superstar developer. Then I think if they become a superstar developer, then yeah, sure, fuck me, they're probably going to have loads of work coming in all the time because they're known in the industry. Everybody wants to work with them, but there's only one of them. So at some point they're gonna get in trouble. Um, and what people need to realize is that it's not just posting your work on your Instagram feed and Webflow. It's like educating an audience who you can rely on to get work whenever you want. And again, I think this ties into like the Webflow dev slash or be an agency kind of vibe. And if you want to build like an agency, then at some point you're going to need to create some sort of lead system where you're
Mhm.
getting like consistent work coming in.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest thing to do. It takes so long to do that. I've been working on building a consistent, predictable lead system ever since the start of my business. I remember literally, the first few months focusing on cold emails and making these, getting these lead lists from Fiverr, and then getting all of
Mm,
these email automation systems and then paying for them and then sending emails to the point where now all I'm focusing on is LinkedIn and YouTube. So yeah,
yes.
it does take a lot of trial and error to get to the point, and I'm still nowhere near the point where I can have a predictable flow of leads. But
Mm.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think? How will it look like to achieve that? How would it look like to have a consistent flow of leads? What kind of systems do you believe you need to have in place? Um, and what are the requirements essentially? Do you need to have certain amount of years experience, or I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, so what you want to know is when you get that amount of work coming in, what do
Hmm.
you need to have in place to be able to deal with it?
Yeah,
Is that right?
basically,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, there's a load of things, right? Like
Hmm.
onboarding, project management skills. You're gonna need systems. You're gonna need standard operating procedures, which is a word that I only learned about like a couple months ago. But having
Hmm.
like recipes, I found is a really big trend in agencies now, and automating that as well. So when a new project is created, you have a standard set of tasks that are always made inside your project manager that are like setup tasks that are never going to change between projects. Therefore, your developer or designer comes in and they just immediately can get to work on those tasks. In terms of experience, right? Like, guys, if you haven't got any project management experience yet and you want to become a Webflow agency or you want to become an agency, it could be social media or whatever, having like project management experience as soon as you can, as young as you are, is like vital because believe me, it's like fucking crazy sometimes. And you need to know all the ins and outs, like how to make sure that the ticket that you write is specific enough that somebody who's reading it for the first time will understand it
Hmm.
without saying, I need to jump into a call and have a chat with you about this. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
I'll go on now, jump in and do a half hour call when that could have been avoided if you had written like a good enough ticket. Um, and in terms of like years of experience, I don't think there's any reason that you couldn't start right now. Some advice I used to give like subscribers a while ago was like, if you don't have any experience, like commercial experience, a year's work in any company, IT related, would be huge because you get exposed to how to talk to clients. You get exposed to like how to um, deal with like systems and stuff and stuff, but it's not vital. Um, but yeah, a year in any agency, even interning for like a month or two and just learning like what they do can be really beneficial in helping you craft your own systems. I hope I answered your question. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. I would just want to go back on where you said about writing a ticket in a way that they don't come that the person that you're delegating it to understands it.
Mm,
I believe Vermaelen, I'm just speaking for him right now. He mentioned that he's trying to build a team, and I
mm,
feel like I'm also trying to build a team and trying to delegate certain tasks to other people. But one thing that I've experienced, and I believe Marlon has also experienced, is that sometimes you'd say to yourself, and this is very dangerous, but sometimes you say to yourself, you know what, it's just easier if I do it myself
Yeah.
and actually
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
to explain to another person. And that is a dangerous thing because that kind of goes against the whole point of delegation and saving time. But I think, delegating is actually a skill. Like as much as it does not sound like a skill, explaining
Mm.
things in a way, explaining tasks in a way that people understand the first time is actually a huge skill. And again, like any other skill, it takes a lot of practice. So yeah, man, I definitely agree in what you said about delegation.
There's a really good book called 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey, which will help a lot of people out, I think, when it comes to delegating tasks. Because the biggest thing as well is like follow-ups, remembering to to
Hmm.
follow up with them. And I really feel for Vermaelen because like you really do
Yeah,
sometimes feel like, oh, fuck, this is just so much headache. I'm just going to do it myself. But
yeah,
then you know, maybe then Vermaelen misses out on doing a podcast, for example,
yeah,
or
exactly.
missing out on creating some content or something that could get another
Hmm.
lead. So it's a balancing
Yeah,
act.
yeah, definitely. I mean, even today, so I got a new blog writer. And today I sent him my outline, and he wasn't sure of the outline. He was like, "Oh, can we hop on a call?" Literally exactly what he said was, can we hop on a call? I don't really understand. I was like, I don't want to do this. So, so he wrote up a first draft, and then after I told, and he didn't do it properly, and he said, "Oh, your outline didn't make sense to me." I was like, So then I literally just gave up, and I just uploaded a draft that wasn't really good because I didn't explain it properly. And yeah, but delegating is a huge thing, and is a skill that a lot of people need to get used to. But yeah, man, I wanted to just move on and ask you, what are some of the major lessons that you learned along the way of, your Webflow journey?
Yeah. Um, some cracking questions today, Shais, actually. So shout out to you and Vermaelen for that. They really gave me thinking. But I would say that the biggest one has been I learned it very early on was don't overpromise what you can't deliver.
Mm-hmm.
When we're younger and we're starting out and somebody offers you money for something, you just say yes because you're like, wow, they're giving me
Mm-hmm.
money and I'll just do it. But I think that can really shoot you in the foot, and Stephanie shot me in the foot where you agree to something that's so big for so little, and you end up spending more time on it than it's actually worth. Which at the end of the day, either leads to you saying to the client, "I don't want to do this anymore," or "Can you give me some more money?" And then you go into a bit of an argument there, or you do it, but then you really look at that project and regret it, and you're not happy about it, and you just push it to the back of your mind. And I think we want to
Mm-hmm.
feel great about every project more and more
Yeah.
and more. Um, and one that I recently learned this year, which has been an amazing change to our revenue, has been follow up with your clients. If you deliver something
Mm-hmm.
and you think it's done, um, just put a note in your calendar to follow up with them once a month to see how they're doing, see if there's anything changing in their business. I spoke about this in one of my really early on vlogs where it was like we hadn't spoken to one of our clients for a year. We went and then had a chat with them, just an odd meeting. I went in and had a chat and just said, "Oh, how are you doing? How's things going?" And he goes, "Yeah, well, we've been thinking about this and we've been thinking about that, and I was wondering if we could do this." And all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden, it turned from a follow up to a 7.5 grand deal,
Wow.
which is
Nice.
just goes to show, right? Like, just fucking follow up with them, please,
Yeah.
whatever you do.
Definitely, man. So now that you told us what things that you've learned, what are some of the recommendations? Sorry, what are some of the things that you recommend not doing um to beginners? What are some of the things that you learned that you're like, no, never doing this again?
Yeah, sure. I think it's like again, like agreeing to and not agreeing to take on to
Mm-hmm.
like a really big job, but also like don't try and be a jack of all trades, really specialize. So I think when we first started out, we did SEO, we did websites, we did branding, we did signage, we did print, just about anything that anybody wanted creatively. And then realized like early on, just really focusing on delivering websites was like the best thing to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
from there as well, I would say like, I would just say like really focus on your long term goal, or like the goal that you want to
Mm-hmm.
get to at the end of the year. Let that be your guiding star, and try and not think about it just like money. Think about it like, what I want to build for myself. Like, do I want to build a lifestyle business? Do I want to build like a team? What does that look like? I mean, we have like, I have all this writing in the behind me, and everybody always asks me what
Yeah.
it is. But all it is me just thinking about like, what do I want our company to look like at the end of the day? And yeah, like in 3 or 4 years' time, I'd love to be on the awards site with like some very sick websites on there, you know, and my team have created that and getting some awards and stuff. So I think you said like what not to do, and I just said what to do.
It's
But
fine.
but I would say don't think short term, think long term.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Cool.
Don't think you know everything.
Cool, man. Yeah. So I also wanted to ask you, so almost at the end, but I just wanted to ask you, I I believe you do post on Instagram, right? Quite a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I actually used to do that as well, but what I found is that I I can't get any clients from Instagram. You know, I
Mhm.
feel like in
Mhm.
on Instagram when you post, there's just a lot. The people who like your posts are other people like yourself, other website designers and other developers. That's what I've personally experienced. Not saying
Mhm.
that that is what everyone will experience, but that's my personal experience with it. What are your personal experience with Instagram, and do you recommend going down that route?
I could ask you so many questions right now, Shais, about like why that is with your
Yeah,
content, like what type of content are you posting, etc. But
yeah.
um, from my experience, like I used to post a lot of what content that was made for website designers. I don't know if that's the
Hmm.
case with you, and that's
Yeah, I
why
I used
I
to
was
post
getting.
stuff like that as well. Yeah.
So maybe that's why you're getting like website designers liking your stuff. I
Hmm.
realized, and actually the vlog episode tonight kind of covers my kind of insights from using Instagram so
Hmm.
far. But um, I've realized now that like posting content primarily for business owners. So like business owners don't give a fuck about like what a good look website looks like. What they care about is like, how do I generate traffic to my website? How do I get more leads through my website?
Hmm.
You know, et cetera, et cetera. How do I generate more organic traffic? What is paid traffic? And like educating them on that kind of thing has been
Hmm.
beneficial. It's interesting, right? Like if I give one tidbit to your audience today, it's like get on TikTok. The growth potential on there is bloody huge at the moment. Get on
Hmm.
LinkedIn. The growth potential on there is really huge. And get on Instagram Reels, because we've been posting on Instagram Reels now, and we've seen more growth in the last 2 weeks of doing it than we have done in the last year, I would
Wow.
say. Which is just they're really pushing everything at the moment
Nice.
when it comes to short form video content. So yeah,
Nice one, man. So, you mentioned that you are on quite a lot of platforms. You're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok, right?
yep.
So what, and obviously you have your website as well, which is Google. So I wanted to ask you, where do most of your clients come from? Is it, you know, from Google, LinkedIn, or is it just most of them are from referrals?
Most of them are from referral.
Okay, I see. So which platform do you think works the best? You know, if you could choose one platform, your website,
Mm.
LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, which one would you pick?
Um, I'd say there's two platforms, so to speak. One is Lunch Club AI, so that's a
Okay.
networking platform, and the second is definitely LinkedIn. I've had more
Mm-hmm.
conversations with business owners on there than I have Instagram. Although something that I learned this year is like an omni-channel approach to sales and marketing can really be beneficial, because if a business owner doesn't reply to you on Instagram, for example, connect with them on LinkedIn and message them on LinkedIn. If they don't
Mm-hmm.
reply to you on LinkedIn, email them. If they don't reply to your email, send a message through their contact form on their website, and there's a real big push, I think, especially in the States at the moment, for salespeople to have an omni-channel presence across all platforms, with the willingness to message each one until they get a yes or a no.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I'm personally only on LinkedIn and YouTube, and I repurpose it for Facebook sometimes, but mostly on LinkedIn and YouTube only. I stopped Instagram. And yeah, LinkedIn is amazing. Like, I feel like your videos definitely helped in terms of me, because before I never really used to get business owners on my LinkedIn, but when I started watching your videos and the LinkedIn strategy, and basically when I started to know what I was actually doing when I'm posting on LinkedIn, that's when I started to see some results. And people start reaching out to me, messaging me. And yeah, man, LinkedIn, I would recommend that to anyone, and I think you can vouch for that as well. But yeah, and for all those people, that are watching, Instagram hasn't worked for me personally. Maybe I done it wrong. Maybe, I don't know what it was, but that doesn't mean it won't work for you. So go try it out, test out different things, go on TikTok, as Harry said, and yeah, see what works for you, which is what you got to find out. But you know what, Harry, I can actually talk to you all day, man. As I said, I do watch a lot of your videos. I'm a huge fan. But I know that, yeah, we don't have that much time today. So why don't you tell the audience where they can find you? Where can they learn more about yourself, imaginary space, all of that good stuff?
Sure, thanks. Well, thanks for having me. First of all, it's been really good fun to chat. I feel so tired now from our talk, but yeah, it's been so much fun. So you can find me at Imaginary Space online for our agency, but mainly I post a lot of content for you guys on YouTube. So Harry Roper on YouTube, and if you go on there, I've got a load of videos from selling to marketing, project management. Tonight there's going to be one on Reels and TikTok if you're interested in those sort of domains. So a real mix of everything. You can then also find me on Instagram, Harry Mackay Roper, TikTok, Harry Mackay Roper, and then LinkedIn, Harry Roper. And I'd like to post a lot of content about like the strategy behind websites and stuff like that. So yeah, happy to chat
Definitely.
to anyone. Feel free to get in touch.
Awesome. Yeah, so all of Harry's links will be in the description. Make sure to check him out. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoy this one, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.